Hello, everyone, and welcome back again to Growing Up Alien. And today we have our special guest, Jesse. No, you don't want to be here. I'm getting my new feathers. He's getting his new feathers. Look at this. See this? He just wanted to show yes, how beautiful you're getting. Yeah. Look at that. Rooster got it. You're so, yes. You did not know it. Well, today, now that we just showed the most important information, but I know you're gonna know that. Today, I just want to talk about getting pictures and videos of craft UFOs, UAPs, whatever they call them. So, last night, which would have been October 21st, it was a really active night. I had a feeling it was going to be a really active night. So I'm like telling Evan, I'm like, yeah, it's going to be an active night. You know, if you can get out there and you can have a clear sky, I think it's going to be a lot of action. So, they were like one right after another. And I don't know if it was different ships or it's the same ship that comes back and around, but it was out of control last night. So, we got tons of video and, we'll talk about like catching video and it's up to your camera really. So I mean if you want to go out and buy fancy equipment you can do that, but you can just use your cell phone. That's what I use. I'm definitely not going to be going out and buying any kind of equipment to take pictures. But yeah, I mean in most places it's really locale based than anything else. So for some reason over my house there's a lot of craft. Like pretty much every night if you go out there you'll see a bunch of stuff. I know some people tend not to get as much. I think if you're super rural, maybe you don't. I don't know. It seems because I'm in New England, I know Evan gets tons every night. If he goes out, he'll get tons. So we have a lot of military bases. I think if you have military bases in your area or you're on a flyway between military bases, this is my suspicion. I know some people have asked, what do I do? Do I do anything before, like meditate or anything before? Absolutely not. I do nothing like that. I think that's bullshit. I say, if it makes you happy and you want to do it, go ahead. Yeah, I just think, it's becoming a very I don't know. There's this the whole thing around disclosure and extraterrestrials at this point has become I don't know some kind of weird festival event or something. You don't need to do anything. You don't have to be a magic person. They don't come to magic. This is the whole thing. These craft aren't going to fly because you're a special magical person that they want to connect with. Yes, then that's true. That can certainly happen, but you don't have to be that way. I guess the thing that rubs me the wrong way having always been, and I know for maybe a lot of you as well, a third wheel for my entire life. The scapegoat, the one that got thrown under the bus. It just really rubs me the wrong way. When people come forward and act and sort of praise how wonderful they are and that they get special treatment and they do all these wonderful things that nobody else can do and all that kind of bullshit. Everybody's special. There isn't anybody special. The ETs definitely don't single out people to be special. People have different missions. That's different. People have different missions, but let me tell you, they're not signaling out certain people who are of high vibration or did their work or whatever kind of nonsense the CIA is feeding some of these people. Um, it doesn't matter. They're going to come. They're there. You just it's like you may need to go to different places, move around. If it's not over where you are, try different locales. That would be interesting if folks would get together. There's something else we can do. If folks would get together and share their locations roughly, because you're gonna be look. I mean, you can see it from you want to share your direct address, obviously, but that whole area you would be able to see the crafts. So that would be a neat kind of endeavor for folks to type in where they are roughly and the activity that they have over their house. So yeah, Massachusetts is very active, Vermont's very active, different parts of Canada very active. From what I know from people. So the first thing I want to pull up is putz here for a little bit. This involves putzing. I switched to, thanks to Dennis, I switched to a Google Pixel Pro 10. And that did my other camera was garbage. It couldn't even take a picture of a star. That seems to be not so bad, right? For government work, as I always say. There he is. My father used to say that. Good enough for government work. So share. Okay. Putzing around, putzing around. There we go. Okay. Um, so this image here, what the hell? That's not a UFO. No, it isn't. So I don't go out, and I tell people, if you're going to be going out looking for craft in the dark, use common sense. Don't go to places that are dangerous. You probably really shouldn't go alone. I mean, those kinds of things. So yeah, usually Patrick will come over and then you have then obviously, right? Then you have a witness, which is even better. So yeah, I usually videotape these things with my friend Patrick, who is as I've mentioned him before, he is a tall envoy, tall, Taal. Um, and these are very old letters. These are letters that his great grandmother um, had, and it was around 1942 where she saw a UFO in her backyard in Quincy, and that's Quincy, Mass. And this was we think like Patrick's gonna be, he thinks it's around 1942 that this occurred. So her son came home, Rudy, right? This is what this says. Her son came home and she was standing in the backyard, like shocked. She's like, "What?" And he says, "Hey, mom, what's up?" And she was like, "I just saw a thing, a UFO." It was, I think she didn't know, she had no idea. She's not a part of this kind of stuff. 1942, she wasn't into this. And she was like, she was surprised. And she told him to go and get her a glass of water. And he's like, "What'd you see?" And she says, "This thing was shiny and round." So in this letter, it says, Rudy came home from, I can't see, school. Grandma in the backyard out of breath, asked Rudy for water. She saw something shiny come down, then disappeared. So this is, and he says, see, as you see there on the side, it says kept quiet. So Patrick was saying there was only a few times in his life where he remembers this story, and one was when she was on her deathbed. But yeah, so there she was, just in shock in the backyard there. So move on to the next one. Where's my? Yeah, it was round. Rudy said maybe it was a jet. There are new ones, and she said no, no jet, no blimp. And then he took her back in the house. So that is one piece of corroboration, intel from back in the day, right now around 1942, where this craft was sighted by a woman in Quincy, Massachusetts, a woman who happened to be Patrick's great grandmother. So, so these things run in families, and you may know, and I think in a lot of families, and like Patrick said, this was never talked about, and in many families it wasn't, So, but I think you'll see more and more stories like this coming out. So I'll pull up some videos that we were able to capture. So, putzing again. Putz, putz, putz. There it is. Share. This one. Okay, this. Do it in order so I don't screw up. That always helps. Okay. So, let's play a little bit. Okay. There's the flashy, flashy. Okay. Okay, so, oh, good. That's actually, there it is up there. So what I do is we just, we're on, surveilling the sky for things, and there's planes obviously and all that kind of stuff, and satellites, and how do you tell the difference? Well, just take video of it anyway, right? Because then when you take your video, you can blow up the video on your. I find this is interesting that you actually see these things better through the phone. Because then you can blow it up and get an idea of what it is. So usually satellites, they're not that bright. They don't generally come up in the phone very clear. You can usually see their little satellite on the satellite, the little solar panels and things like that. You won't see a warp on a satellite. So the human-made military craft will oftentimes flash something like a plane, if not incredibly similar to a plane. So you don't want to miss an opportunity. You can always delete a video if it's a plane, no big deal. But they don't have, and it's good. This is how you can, really get to do a better job at this, is that the more you do it, like anything, the better you get at it. So take a bunch of videos and then decide, okay, well, that's a plane, or that's not a plane. I've actually lost some great catches thinking it was a plane and it wasn't. So planes don't disappear. They don't, there's different things like this. So these craft, I'm not sure this was a TR3B. I blew it up on my phone and you can see the warp when you blow it up because it'll tend to like spray out um, different like flashes. So the military craft will have green, sometimes red, and a white light similar to an airplane, but the flashing is not the same. Sometimes it will be irregular, but even if it's regular, right, it's just not quite the same. So you want to videotape the stuff you don't miss something. You're not going to see the wings. That's another thing because the planes have their lights on their wings. You won't see that. And the lights on planes tend to have a yellowy gold hue to them, whereas the lights on these kinds of things are really crystal clear, like almost starlight white. And you can see that here. So there it is flashing. And it's my, sorry for the lousy. I've been trying to get a steadier phone, but yeah, it's a challenge because you're trying to zoom in and then you're trying to like, it's like- and it kind of wavers and all kinds of crap happens. But I put some of these on Facebook as well, so and it's actually quite difficult to try to get it into a frame. You'll see. I know most folks are like, yeah, it's really hard to get into frame. So that one. So that was one. I'll pull up the other ones. Here's another one. This one had an unusual shape. It's kind of like a long. I like it if what I usually will try to do is film them long enough so that the thing with filming these is like there's no reference points. So if you have a reference point, it's ideal. So I like to capture them when they go by. So I'll film them long enough till they go by a star, which is then there's actually movement there. So stars can be similar. You'll see like flashing. There it goes. So it passes. That's what I wanted it to do. Um, so I'll try to do that, right? So then you get, okay, I went by a star because why is it still moving, right? Stars don't go by stars. So that's what you want to be able to verify what you're catching. So there it is. After I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna get sick of them. I know a lot of my friends are like, oh, we're so sick of these stupid things. Um, so like I said, it is not a special thing to see a craft for sure. There he goes. Another one. And these are all from last night. Trying to zoom in on them. Like, where'd it go? There it is. It disappeared on this film. There it is again. Yeah. Oops. No. Next one. You can see it. I kind of play with the zoom and zooming in and zooming out kind of thing. So back to the beginning. You can see. Yeah, there it is. You can see the shape. Like I said, when you get these on your phone, you can do your post video analysis to decide what it is you have. You can blow it up on the phone. I don't know how to blow it up on here. I don't think you can. So, but that's there it is. All right, lost that one. Yeah, putzing here. All right. Another one. And see the flashing, and that's what you want to watch for too, because satellites won't be doing that. I mean, they can get different lighting depending on where they are when they're reflecting, but you won't, it wouldn't be as steady as something like this. There's again, just can barely see it. Trying to perfect zooming in and let's see. And last. No matter how steady you hold your hands, the pain in the butt, it just moves like this. It's so irritating. That's why, again, I like to have a star where it goes by a star because then you're like, oh, all right, that's great. Now you can see it's actually, it's not the phone doing weird stuff, it's the thing moving around. There. That's what I like. You can see it pass a star. There we go. So yeah, just play around with different things. Get outside, try your camera, mess around with it, and see what you can catch. So it's like I said, it's not a magic act. You don't have to meditate. You don't have to like play bells or whatever all these people are doing. You don't have to raise your vibration. You don't have to anything. They're there. They're going to be there one way or the other. It's like, it's yeah, it's just like everything else, right? So just like telepathy, just like remote viewing, you don't have to do anything special. You don't have to be any, you don't have to be, oh, it's not, you know, it's just you don't have to be in a good place. You don't have to, do this, do that. It's nonsense. I think people all over the world are doing, and well, that's the key is to get more people to realize that this isn't something special. This isn't something that these, oh, I spent 50,000 years meditating, or I went to a Buddhist monk, or I went there, blah, blah. You don't have to do any of that crap. You don't have to do anything. It's like, these ego lords, you don't have, like, it's just do it. Just start doing it. And yeah, it's we make ourselves small. And this is what when I was first meeting with Val, and that was a wake-up call. I was like, yeah, that's like, why do you make yourself small, right? There's plenty of people who are, augmenting themselves, which is quite offensive. But there's even more of us that have kept ourselves under lock and key and not really expressed who we really are, and that's not, why do that, and you don't have to keep yourself small to kiss the asses of people who think they're better than you. That's nonsense. That alone is in my book a problem, right? So, yes, there's like they can do them, let them do them. I don't you want to be like that kind of person. That's frankly to me is a no-go. It's offensive. I don't like that kind of thing. Um, and I don't care if you're an Earth Terran or if you're on a ship. If you're like that, I won't waste my time with you. And that's just me. Like that's just I've had enough of those kinds of people. They'll just and they will destroy your life. I mean, they, usually. So how many times did you have to have that happen? That's what I always tell people. Like that's like narcissists and those kinds of people. They're not going to do anything for you. So you can play that game. I always say. Anyway, get out there, get your cameras, get your cell phones, whatever you want to buy. Telescopes are great too, and see what you can find. That's So it's a win-win. And if they're not flying in over your area, it's not because of you. You just have to move, go somewhere, take a drive and try different places. Just go around out into the country a little bit and and see where you can go. It's kind of sketchy sometimes because I know if you park somewhere at night, the cops are going to bother you. That happened to us once. We were doing a ghost hunt, and it wasn't even like we just pulled over on the side of the road to review our footage. Cop pulls up, everything all right? It's like, uh, you know, so that around here anyway, in Massachusetts, the cops are like, pain in the ass. So it's if you can't go anywhere at night, it's like if you're they didn't so much for this country ain't free, right? You all know that. So what the F do they care if there's somebody in the woods look I don't okay. Yeah, everybody's supposed to be that's freaking totalitarian. You're supposed to be like in your home in the dark. No one can be outside at night in the dark. Yeah, you can't walk in the woods, you can't this, you can't that. It's at night. Oh, forget it. You can't be anywhere. It's like, what the hell? It's sad. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of clean all that shit up. ASAP, I guess. I don't know. People need to start demanding their freedom. That's the biggest thing, right? If you can't, do this park near a park at night and look up for UFOs or just relax in the evening and that's nuts. And you can't because the cops will be up your ass in Massachusetts. So yeah, it is what it is. So we need well that and that's our fault, isn't it? Right? That we're not demanding our rights. That if I want to be somewhere at night, that's not private property. Hey, mind your own freaking business. And there almost isn't any free property anymore. It's all either a park or something else where it's like so you can't do it right now. You can't go there because it's a park, and there's rules on the park where you have to be there at certain times. That's all deep state. It's all deep. People don't. We're so accustomed to it, we don't even realize that. Like that's crazy. That's crazy. You know. Well, and then that's part of it. They're buying it. There is no free land. There's no like natural land that allows people to explore or this is your planet. You don't need permission to walk around your planet. Yeah, granted, people's private property, that's a different thing. But to be able to go in the woods on your planet, that's not private property. I want to go there at midnight or 2 in the morning. I should be able to. And it's nuts here. Well, again, I'm in New England and they're like mentally deranged here. So looking forward to one day get the hell out of here. Well, plan A, as I always say, is getting off planet, but plan B is in the woods where I can avoid, you know, I'm like I say, I don't tell the Terrans how to live. If they want to live all under lockdown like that, I don't have a problem with that. They can live as, property of the state, which they already are. That's your business. But for me, I resist that. I'm not going to go along with that. So I will remove myself from them and they can do their thing and I'll do my thing. It's just unfortunate on this planet that you really can't do your thing. They're going to come after you. So I think sometimes we hear these ideas to express ourselves and to sort of demand certain things, but there's not enough of us doing that. So, I mean, if you push it too far, you end up in prison. So that's even less of liberty. It's just it was an insane asylum. It's a prison. It's an insane asylum here. So, like I said, hopefully we'll be able to. And it would be nice if there were some kind of legal way in which folks could liberate themselves, and you can't. It's just there so far there really isn't. I know James Martinez, we're talking James. We are going to be having a video with him at some point. He's swamped right now doing Save the Planet stuff. So same. But he's working on something that's quite pivotal, which is to be able to legally, this is a key point, you have to legally remove yourself from this stuff. That might be rolling out. So it's biometric lockdown. Basically, they're going to track you. They're going to, and it's and James mentioned that it's you're basically by not resisting, by not saying anything, that's considered acquiescence, and your average person will acquiesce. So Um, that'll be handy for those who wish to have it to be able to basically claim sovereignty. That's what you're going to have to do because once they commercialize the MK Ultra mind control, yeah. So we know they've already been doing it, you know. So that's what the deep state would do. Every time I went somewhere where I'd have to interact with humans, they would mind control the other humans, and what they would do is create a weird paranoia in them. So they would see me, they would feed intel into them, where they would see me as somehow a threat, as something sketchy, as something they had to keep their eye on. But or they would just instill in them a where I would rub them the wrong way. So this is all the mind control that the deep state would use. So it made my life basically like where I can never ever interact with people on the street because they would interfere and in mind control. And I know that happened to a lot of you who struggled in life because it wasn't you, and you thought, of course, originally, right, it was you, but it wasn't. It was actually the mind control. So they're going to be doing this on a more open scale, and people aren't aware of just, and that's what James calls it. It's an extinction level event. It's absolutely an extinction level event. So you'll be turning this planet into a type of synthetic. And there are other planets and races and species that have chosen this route, and it wouldn't surprise me to see it happening here as well. Now, hopefully, we'll be able to stop that. But as we always kind of mention, if this is what the beings on this planet want, it really isn't up to us to stop it. But hopefully stuff is put into place that we can escape, or at least somehow divide the planet up where those people who want to become transhuman and synthetic can do that, and those who don't will have a safe place. They're obviously going to hunt you down, so they can find you. I know a lot of people think they can carry around some magical crystals, or I don't have any crystals with me here. I do actually have this, the one I brought, bring my feathers. Like people walk around with these crystals, they think that they somehow is going to save them, or they do certain meditations, or they're, Arcturian or whatever the hell they think they are. And that's somehow going to prevent, there's nothing's going to stop this. When they want to, we all know that when they hit you, they hit you. And folks that generally can protect themselves from these kinds of attacks, they get attacked. So there isn't any real safe, there's no way you can extricate yourself if this becomes a global situation. So I don't want to end on that note. I think things will shift. I do hope that we will have, and that there is some group. I don't know who they are. I've never met them. I hope there's some humans. And I know James has met some people that are definitely on board with this. They get this. They understand this. They're not making money off it. So yeah, knock on wood that we'll be able to extricate ourselves from very devious plans for this planet. So Jesse agrees. Jesse says he hopes so too. So anyway, all right, guys. Thanks so much. And if you ever get any nice footage you want to share, you can go on my growingupalien.com, and I'll write it in the description. You can email me through there, and we can get your footage up. So very cool. All right. See you upstairs.